Hi, this is Tina LaFerrier. It's 2026. We're at the Summer Convention in Orlando. And this interview is with Kelly Dorsey, our very latest Hall of Fame member. Hi, Kelly.
Hi.
What got you started in music?
Well, in my family, we always had a piano in the house, and my mother played piano. And I loved hearing her play, and I would hang out in the piano room with her a lot. And then when I used to try to pretend to play like she did. And my dad would come by and say, "Oh, you sounded just like your mom," which I knew was a lie, but I appreciated the effort, So, and then when I was 6 years old, she said, "Hey, would you like to take piano lessons?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I would." So, being from Tallahassee, she took me up to FSU. My dad worked right next door to the old music building, the original music building. And I took lessons on the top floor because there was no house-right building at the time. And that just showed my age, but that's okay. And so I would take lessons up there, and I only did that probably for about a year. I'm not really sure. That was a long time ago. And then I took again when I was 10 years old, and got a little bit further with it. And then in 6th grade, I started beginning band, and everything just went boom. I get it now. It was just a lot of fun. And honestly, I think because I had taken those piano lessons, that gave me that edge over the other students, because I already knew how to read music. Not very well, but I had the basics down. And I was always a quiet kid in school. But I did my stuff. But when I got into band, I was at Cobb Middle School with Bill Miller. And wow, what a teacher. What a teacher. He is an incredible, his pedagogy was just flawless. And I watched him like a hawk. But I also, because I was so quiet, I didn't get a lot of attention at school until the first day that we played lines. He had a pass-off system. And I passed off a bunch of lines, and by the end of the day, kids that had never said a word to me were going, "Are you the one that played 14 lines today?" And I went, well, yeah. He had been bragging about me all day, and I felt seen. And it was just liberating. And boy, did that egg me on. And very quietly, I just kept doing my thing and having a ball, but I watched him like a hawk. And I loved learning what he was doing, and he would sometimes send me into the practice room and say, "Take this student and help them learn this section. Don't come back until they can play." I said, "Okay." And I would try to do it exactly the way he did it. And it worked, and it was so exciting, and the other student got so excited. And then we'd come back in, and it was great. And I guess because that worked, I got to keep doing that, and that was a lot of fun. I can remember him teaching a snare drummer how to do a roll. So I would go home and take 2 pencils and sharpen them up really, really sharp, and I would learn how to do a roll. Apparently, that's pretty hard to do. I didn't know that it was hard. I just did it, and I memorized fingerings that he was teaching. It was just great. And so I got to do a lot of stuff there. And then when I went into high school, I had 2 band directors. And the first was Jack Foose, and he was such a happy person. And I like to be happy. I like to laugh. And he did a lot for me in bringing me out of my shell. And I think he kind of made me a project kid. He's like, he absolutely told me, "I'm going to bring you out of your shell." And it worked. It did. And that showed me a lot too. And I thought, gosh, this is just great. I really want to give this to other students. And then my second high school director was Bob Hansbrough in his very early days of teaching. And he gave me a lot of teaching experience. I cannot thank him enough for that, because he would let me do student conductor. He let me take the second woodwind choir to solo and ensemble and to state as the conductor. I mean, it was just, that was really valuable, really valuable. And I got a lot out of that. So those kinds of opportunities just really egged me on. But I knew before my 6th grade year that being a band director is what I wanted to do. It was just very evident. It clicked immediately because I was so enthralled in what Bill Miller was teaching us. It was just, it made sense. His system was just great. And and he was a phenomenal band director. And we played, grade 4 stuff. Well, I thought everybody did that. So I spent the first few years of my career chasing that, going, why am I not able to do this? It was just, wow, what an example he set. And he was so calm. I don't ever remember him raising his voice, ever. And I thought, this is really something. So it was just a great example. But the opportunities that all 3 of those gave to me are just, it's what a blessing. And that helped me a lot.
And where did you go to college?
So I went to FSU, and I actually took lessons there all through high school. Even took banjo lessons one summer. Loved it. And so then when I remember when I was going to audition, I asked my mom, I said, well, are you going with me? And she said, do I need to go? And I thought, well, no, I know my way around. She said, okay. And she let me go spread my wings, which was great. It was great for me. She was also very pivotal in pushing me to do solo and ensemble when I was terrified. And that made a huge difference for me, doing solo and ensemble. That helped me get over my fear of being in front of a group. And now it just doesn't bother me anymore. But that's where that all started, was because my mom really pushed me to do that. She didn't push too hard, she pushed just enough. And it was great. But so FSU was where I went to school, loved it. When I joined the Marching Chiefs, I worked my way through the different leadership positions, and I was encouraged by some really great friends to try out for different positions I hadn't even thought about. They're like, oh, you should go for this. Now you should go for this. Well, now you should go for this. And I'm going, me? And they go, yeah, you. And so I did. And much to my surprise, I would get those positions. But that's where I got to really practice the craft of teaching. And Dr. Schellehammer had such a well thought out system for teaching marching. I'm learning a lot about how the little details really make a difference, and that helped a lot. But I do remember one time in a conducting class, we had to conduct something, I don't know, and the teacher said, boy, you really know how to rehearse a group. And I said, that's my middle school band director. I did it exactly the way he would do it. And he taught us how to practice first. And so I never forgot that. That was really something.
Fantastic. Well, what was your first teaching gig, and how did you come about it?
So I graduated in December, and there were just no jobs at that time. Now we have more jobs than we have people. But I had just finished interning at Crestview High School with David Cadle, which I just love. I would have stayed there, but nobody else would leave, so there were no jobs. It was just a great place to be. And I asked Dr. Schellehammer, I said, well, do I stay here? Do I come back? He said, come back to Tallahassee. Out of sight is out of mind. If you're here, we'll remember you need a job, blah, blah, blah. And as luck would have it, the secretary in the band office at the time had just taken another position, so he put me in there. And so I did that through the Christmas break, and then he said, get your resume and your cover letter, all that stuff together, and when you go to conference in Tampa, just have them. I had stacks of them. And walking through the exhibits, I had just been talking to him, to Dr. Schellehammer, and I was walking away, and he called me back, and he said, hey, and he introduced me to a music supervisor down south in Lee County at the time. And it was a middle school choral position, and I went, uh-oh. This is not going to be good. But, you know, and it was a tough job. It was in the middle of a gang neighborhood. But boy, did I learn a lot. It also had a handbell class, and I said, I don't know how to teach handbells. He said, yes, you do. And I said, I do. And he said, yeah, you could teach tonal bass drums, right? I went, yeah. And he goes, same thing. I went, okay. That worked for me, and I had a good time doing it. And but I really enjoyed that school because it was 80% minority, and I really loved seeing the minority kids in leadership positions. It was the first time I had really seen that, and that was awesome to me. And that was a lot of fun. We really kind of turned it around. I just sort of finished out a year, and the director before me was phenomenal. She was really wonderful and just had moved up to a high school. And she just had a great program there, which made it easier for me. But my band was in heart. My heart was in band. So then during spring break, Dr. Croft called me and said, Bell's school came open. It was a K-12 school at the time. And they had just heard the band play, and he thought of me immediately, called me, and I said, well, I'll be up there tomorrow for spring break. So I went to see him, and before I could even get to his office, all of my buddies that were still in school said, Kelly, you need to go to this school. You need to go to, and I'm thinking, why me? And I guess it's because I had always said when I was in school, I was preparing myself to be stuck in the middle of nowhere because there just weren't a lot of jobs.
Okay.
And so that was definitely in the middle of nowhere. I mean, I had to get a magnifying glass to find it on the map. And I'm not even exaggerating about that. But I went out there for the interview, and I'm driving into town, and I'm thinking, what did I get myself into? This is, wow. You know, very tiny. The only traffic light in the whole county was 10 miles south in Trenton. And it was, at the time, it was in this 2-story, which is now a historical building, wooden floors. You know, it was really something. And so I did the interview, and the principal said, you want to see the band room? And I said, yes, because, you know, I'm interviewing him too. And as soon as I walked into the band room, I saw winger chairs and stands. And I thought, somebody understands how to support a program because those are not cheap. And I thought, okay, if they can get that, then we can get other things. And I took the job. And I had no desire whatsoever to teach middle school, but that was a K-12 school. And I honestly, going into it, I thought, well, this might be a temporary thing, but turns out it was not. I loved those kids so much and that area so much. I said, I'm going to figure out how to teach middle school. And so I did. And I just loved it. I fell in love with the place. And I was there for 13 years. And I started in 1990. And I thought I would retire there, honestly. Because I just loved it so much. It's just, a lot of my family are from small towns, you know, like Shipley and Sopchoppy and Woodville. And so those are my people. Even though I grew up in Tallahassee, it's just, I love those people. And they just have a lot to offer. Plus, I thought it was really funny the first time I had a kid call me and say, Dorsey, I'm going to be late to practice because the cows got out. And I went, what? Who says that? You know? And I said, boy, I'm in the right spot. This is great. I just found it entertaining. And it was just so true. So it was a lot of fun. So I was there for 13 years. And then at the end of that time, I had just had my second child, and I came back from maternity leave, and I took a seventh grade band, an eighth grade band, and a high school band to NPA and solo and ensemble and state, and I was just exhausted. And I lived in Gainesville at the time, and I just really wanted to raise my kids, but I also loved what I was doing, and I needed help because I had well over 200 kids by myself. And I guess it was my own fault. That's what my principal said. He said, it's your own fault. I was like, well, okay, but I don't know how to do it any other way. And they just couldn't provide that. And, you know, it was fascinating because I had made a comment. I was like, well, this might be the end of this, which was breaking my heart. But then Buddy Ball called me, and he was at Union County High School, and he was getting ready to leave, and he and Dean Castles were going to Flagler. And he said, would you be interested in this? And I said, well, hesitantly, I just might be. I knew I didn't want to go, but I knew I needed to look at it for my family because I really wanted to be closer with my kids. And boy, I'll tell you, the first week I walked into Lake Butler, I instantly knew that was where I wanted to raise my kids. It was really something. That community is really special. Bell was very special. And this was larger. And even though it's a small town and it's the smallest county in the state, they do everything big.
Yes.
Every program succeeds. And I even remember the football coach said to me, you wouldn't be here if you weren't good. And I was like, wow, that was something. And he was sincere about it. He ended up being a great friend. And then things in my life just kind of took a little different turn, and the kids and I moved to Lake Butler, and I found a property 5 minutes from the school because I had been driving 40 minutes, 45 minutes one way, and after 16 years of that, I needed to not be doing that anymore. And
planning time.
Yeah, or falling asleep time. Yeah, that was hard. I'd get home and then I'd get in the car and going, yeah, when I get home I'm gonna do X, Y, Z, and by the time you get home, I'm going, I'm whipped. So that was tough, especially with having the young kids at home. And so once we were able to be 5 minutes from the school, it made it so much easier. Mom, I forgot my shoes. Okay, I can turn around and still make it back to school on time. There was a lot of that going on. But it was neat, a neat system because the elementary school kids, we only have one elementary, one middle school, one high school. And so the elementary school kids get picked up first. Then they come to the middle school, high school, which is joined by the bus loop. Teachers' kids would get off, come to our classrooms, everybody else would get on, and they would all go home together because they're all related. So having K through 12 on the bus is just not a problem. And that was really cool because my kids got to grow up in the band room. We were together, and we were home for dinner together every night. I had made enough friends that we were able to work out things so we could do the little Babe Ruth baseball and the baton twirling and the gymnastics, and we were able to do that. And because it's such a supportive community, and every time there's a field trip, there is a caravan of cars behind the buses. Every activity, there are always parents. And I remember that from when I was at Bell, because I would hear Dean's band play, and I'm like, where are all these parents coming from? It was so impressive to me. And then when I experienced, I said, man, this is great. They're so supportive. And it's kind of like in a little bubble,
But you're providing a quality program that they can support.
Yeah. That helps a lot.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Well, what advice would you give to either young directors or directors looking to change jobs?
Well, okay. So for the young directors, this is what I was told, and I followed this advice, and it was scary to do it. I was hanging out at FSU, and Jeff Bradford was there, and I knew him well because I went to school with his sons, and we were in band together, and called him Uncle Jeff, and he said, where's your job? Did you get a job? And I said, yes, sir, and it's going to be at Bell. And he said, Bell, that's Dean Castle's area. And I knew who Dean Castle's was. I don't know how I knew, but I knew, and he already scared me to death. You know? And he said, you want to be a good band director? And I said, yes, sir. And he said, you call him in, let him watch you teach, and then go into your office, close the door, and let him rake you over the coals. And I went, do I have to? He said, if you want to be a good director. I said, okay, I'll do it. So I did. Although he didn't watch me teach. He came in and he did the teaching. But he was in my band room every year that I taught until he couldn't be. And that just meant the world. And I would bring him in to come work the band. He didn't touch the music for 2 years. He was going around fixing horn angles, fixing hand positions, embouchures, and I'm frantically writing. Also standing up so the kids can see me, so when he yelled at me and they'd look at me and I'm smiling and they go, okay, it's okay that he's yelling at us, because that was just his style. But I learned so much. What an incredible teacher with just incredible pedagogy. It was just amazing. And then the third year, he started working on the music, and I went, yes, I finally got there. But, I've had so many young directors say, well, they're not ready yet. The kids aren't ready yet. I just want to pull my hair out. They're never ready, ever, ever. There's no such thing as a perfect performance. And because it's different every single time. And they just get upset. Well, I already told the kids that. I know. But it's kind of like being a parent. When a parent tells their children things and the children just kind of pass it off, and then the neighbor says it, well, it's the golden rule. And it, as a parent, you're going, I said that. Being a band director and a teacher is no different. Bring people in to let them tell the kids the same thing you do, and hopefully they'll give you a couple more nuggets. And it will make your band better. But you got to be willing to be embarrassed.
How do you pick a mentor?
Well, that's a great question. Nowadays we have this great mentor program where we can assign mentors. That wasn't a thing when I started teaching. I didn't know anybody. And I honestly cannot remember how I met Gary Langford. But he agreed to come out and work with my kids. And he's another one that was in my room every single year that I've taught. And means a lot to me. I've learned a lot from him. And but then I just called Dean Castles because, and I also, Dean was at Union, Kathy LeVay was at Newberry. I know there was somebody else. There were 2 or 3 really good small schools in our area. And I went to them and I said, how long did it take you to build your program? And they all said 9 years. And I went, whew, okay, I'll do it. And when it took me 8, I was ecstatic. Absolutely ecstatic. I went, yes. And it's not that we weren't having success. I mean, we were going to state most years, but not where I wanted it to be, trying to get that. Not that there's ever stability in a band program, but that's kind of what I was going for, where it was just a lot more fun, and it did become a lot more fun. But there were some tough years there in the beginning.
Well, you had to build a culture.
Had to build a culture, which was really hard in the beginning. The program was $35,000 in debt when I walked in the front door, and I'm just a fresh green kid out of college. I grew up, you respect your elders. All the band parents were older than me, And there was just a lot of fighting because they had some loans, and I'm thinking I would have never done that, but they did, so I had to deal with it. And they were good people. I just didn't know how to provide the leadership for them that they needed. And so they would end up fighting with each other. And I lost kids over that. And so, man, by the third year, I only had 8 high school kids, but I had 50 kids on the field with a bunch of middle schoolers because I didn't know any better. That's why. That was, anyway. But we made it through it. And as a result, I also changed the booster program, the way that was going once we got things paid off. And I just always felt so bad for those parents because I just felt so ill-equipped to help in that situation. I had no experience with loans or, taxes, or I didn't know how to help them. And I was the young kid, and that was hard. But I can remember the first time I had to stand up to a band parent, and that's when I learned that usually they're more afraid of you than you are of them. And which is not really what I was going for, but I guess I discovered I had a little more clout than I thought. What I have learned is that if your band program is well organized and polished looking, people think, A, you have a lot of money in your program, which has never been the case, and B, they think you must be really mean because the kids, all you do is look at them and they just kind of straighten up. And I'm like, no, there's just an expectation and they want to be good. But it's funny when I meet people and I hear them later go, oh, she's so nice. I'm like, well, yeah. I mean, that always makes me giggle a little bit. But I don't know, I'm probably talking around in circles there a little bit.
No, you're doing fine. I want you to tell the story of Cindy Berry talking to you at State.
Oh, yeah. I was a young director. I don't know how long I'd been teaching, maybe 5 years or something, and we were at State. And it was in Gainesville, and she was there. And I knew who she was. Dr. Shalammer had talked about her, and so from the time I was in college, I knew who she was. I was like, man, she does all that by herself. That was impressive. And we had gotten an excellent, which I was just thankful we didn't get a good because it was a pretty tough panel that year. And she found me in the courtyard and sat down, and she just started talking to me and introduced herself and was kind of going on and on. She was not happy that we didn't get a superior. And I'm going, well, I'm just glad we didn't get a good. This is amazing that you're saying this to me, and that really gave me the confidence to feel like, okay, I'm on the right track. Just keep doing what you're doing. And that was so cool. First of all, Cindy Berry's talking to me, and I don't think she knows just how much that really meant. It was like, gosh, this is really something. And once again, I felt seen, and which I felt seen before that, but in this world of band directing, because she was an icon to me, and so that was pretty special, and to have that that validation that I'm doing things right, I was like, okay, I can keep doing this. This is good. That meant a lot.
Well, you mean a lot to a lot of people. You share your skills and you share your love of the job with anyone, everyone. You're very approachable, and I really appreciate that.
Well, thank you.
So is there anything you'd like to say to kind of wrap this whole thing up? You're our newest member of Hall of Fame. You're up there with Jeff Bradford and Cindy Berry.
It is surreal. I never saw myself in this position. I just love this profession. I love the people. I've made some of the best friends ever out of this group. I just think that music people are some of the best people on the planet, and the relationships that we have, It's why I love coming to the conferences, especially the summer conference, because we're all just band directors. And so I see a lot of new faces, and I try to introduce myself to people because I want to get to know them, and because the younger people outnumber us, and I really want to help. I legitimately want to help, but as far as the Hall of Fame goes, I'm just blown away. They're all my heroes, and that's just I'm still struggling to wrap my head around that a little bit.
Well, we will see you in November at Stetson.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Congratulations again.
Thank you.
And
Thank you so
welcome
much.
to being an FBA Legacy.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Bye.